Good afternoon and welcome to my talk upon the Ripper Gang, which is my solution to the Jack the Ripper case. Now, for those who've never been born, who've just come out of a coma, Jack the Ripper was a serial killer in the horrific autumn of 1888, where a series of murders was so shocking, where women were like totally brutalised, that it's gone down in infamy forever, never really been repeated, the horrificisation of it. They were part of a series of 11 or so Whitechapel murders, where 11 ladies of the night were murdered in various ways in a period of about 18 months. But the 5 canonical murders are Mary Ann Nichols, 31st of August, Anne Chapman, 8th of September, and then there was the double event of September 30th, which is Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes. Stride was killed at Burnley Street, and about an hour later at Mitre Square, Eddowes' body was found. And then there was a bit of a lull for about 6 weeks. Then Mary Jane Kelly, she was found in her own little bedsit, let's say. It wasn't even a bedsit, it was like a room. Miller's Court, and then that was the end. Now, there's been a massive amount of speculation as to who did it. You know, some have thought it's Queen Victoria's grandson or son, I can't remember which one it was. You know, amongst a series of what Ripperology has suggested were the murderers. Now, of course, none of those are me. Therefore, I'm thinking outside the box and let's have a look at this stuff, see what actually happened. So I want to come straight to the solution straight away. Jack the Ripper murders were perpetrated not by an individual monster called Jack the Ripper, but by a gang designed to create the illusion of a single fiend. For various reasons, but one of the main reasons was social improvement. The East End had been neglected for long, and there was every attempt made to sort of, bring the poverty, the destitution of the East End to, popular, understanding, were met by howls of derision and just, banana skins. Let's say. Case in point, 1887, there was some big sort of strikes called for and things in Trafalgar Square, and they were put down quite brutally. They were getting nowhere. Social reformers were getting nowhere. So you have 2 elements to the murder gang, right? You have those at the top who were orchestrating it. Oh, I've gone off camera. We'll have to do it from the side. It's quite funny. Those at the top who are orchestrating it, and then the murder gang here at the bottom. Now we're going to focus on the murder gang first, right? There are 2 elements to... No, actually we won't focus on the murder gang. We'll focus upon something else, which is... Can you see it down here? The name. Jack the Ripper. The mythomeme that was created, that the Ripper gang worked under. The moniker, let's say. And his name was obviously Jack the Ripper. Now, he was created officially on the 25th of September, which is 5 days before the double murders, which were themselves an intensification of the idea of this crazed monster stalking the streets. Anyway, on the 25th of September, 5 days before the double murders, the Central News Agency received the following letter written in red ink. Dear boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I'll try to put an accent and voice on. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. You've turned him Scottish. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. I am down on horse, and I shan't quite ripping them till I do get buckled. Grand work the last job was. I gave the lady no time to squeal. How can they catch me now? I love my work and want to start again. You will soon hear of me with my funny little games. 5 days away. I saved some of the proper red stuff in a ginger beer bottle to write with, but it went thick and I can't use it. Red ink is fit enough, I hope. Ha ha. The next job I do, I clip the lady's ear and send it to the police officers just for jolly. Wouldn't you? Keep this letter back till I do a bit more work, then give it out straight. My knife's so nice and sharp. I want to get a chance. Good luck. Yours truly, Jack T. Ripper. Don't mind me giving the trade name. Wasn't good enough to post this before I got all the red ink off my hands. Curse it. No luck yet. They say I am a doctor now. Ha ha. What the fuck? That's the first mention of Jack the Ripper ever. And it's a letter sent to the news agency. The police at the time were going, what Sir Robert Anderson went, I will only add here that the Jack the Ripper letter is the creation of an enterprising London journalist. Sir Melville McNaughton, who else was a major policeman, said, I have always thought I could discern the stained forefinger of the journalist. Indeed, a year later, I had shrewd suspicions as to the actual author. Okay. The thing what's happened is, it's a psyop, right? They're using facts, converting them into something else. You know, the journalists are actually in on it, and we will come to that in a little while. So they've created Jack the Ripper. Now what they need to do is give him a little bit more, you know, power. It's almost like a god. Jack the Ripper's this avatar being, and they're sort of praying to him, feeding him, you know, conversation, newspapers. It's a pure psyop. Anyway, so we're going to the gang now. First things first, it's divided into two. The actual murder gang itself. Above which is a guy called Tumblety. An Irish, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It's a bit bright, isn't it, in here? I think you can see it. We'll see anyway. I even went for a better marker than last time. I think it's just too bright. Tumblety, right? He's an Irish American living in Canada for a while, who was down, a very anti-woman. I think he collected uteruses, yeah, and he's in London in 1888, right? In 1913, John Littlechild, chief of CDR Special Branch at the time of the murders, tells us, I never heard of a Dr. D in connection with the Whitechapel murders, but among the suspects, and to my mind, a very likely one, was a Dr. T, which sounds much like D. And notice on the Jack the Ripper letter, it's Jack T. Ripper. Interesting, that T's there again. He was an American quack named Tumblety, was at one time a frequent visitor to London, and on these occasions constantly brought under the notice of police, there being a large dossier concerning him at Scotland Yard. Although a psychopathia sexualis subject, he was not known as a sadist. Anyway, blah 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 blah. He leaves Boulogne and was never heard of afterwards. Right? But everyone knows by the moment he's gone, the Ripper murders came to an end. They actually came to an end. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, Bellsmith. He's the next guy. Now, Bellsmith, also, he's Canadian. Tumblety and Bellsmith. Now, he's Canadian. He was also in London in 1888. Now, he's mentioned by one woman, a landlady, who says before the killing of Martha Tabram. Now, Martha Tabram was early August, about 3 or 4 weeks before the first canonical killing of Annie Long, no, Liz Long. Anyway, the same Dr. Littlechild, oh no, we've done that. The woman called Callahan went, this is the 5 facts from her account. Bellsmith told Callahan he was visiting London from Toronto on business. She also said, we all regarded him as a lunatic obsessed with women of the street who he said should be drowned. And following the killing of Martha Tabram, he came home late, washed his own shirt, and she noticed spots of blood on his bed sheets. And then he disappears. Alright, bit scanty evidence that. It's not even Jack the Ripper time. However, A man just like Bellsmith then turns up in Whitechapel during the murders. The story is best given in an Australian newspaper, the Port Phillip Herald, with extracts of which read, about 2 years ago, she was living in the model dwellings close by here and had a bedroom to let, furnished. A young man called and engaged the room. After living some time with her, he stated that he had been to sea and at present time he was receiving £1 a week from his father, was also receiving an allowance from his brother, who was a doctor, and that he did not work himself. She also noticed he had plenty of clothes, including hunting breeches, revolvers, guns. Now Callahan said of the Bellsmith he had guns, forgot to mention that. And anyway, his movements during the time of the murders were very mysterious. His brother, who she understood was a doctor, Dr. Tumblety, so they're not real brothers, but he's pretending to be, because Bellsmith never actually had a brother. Anyway, visited him on 2 occasions and appeared much older than him. That's also true. She has no doubt the man she suspects is English, Irish, American, but he spoke with a nasal twang evidently affected, so he's masking his voice, and used the word boss very frequently in conversation. Boss is a key word from the Ripper letters. Right, blah blah blah. And then she says he disappears, then turns up again 2 years later, which is exactly what Bellsmith did with a new wife. It's exactly the same. She also said of him that a bit more about Tumblety, but she actually saw envelopes and postcards addressed to the Press Association and Central News, and there's a few other things. So Bellsmith and Tumblety are seen in conversation in Whitechapel, 1888. That's their part of the gang. Now, there's more, right? That's 2 figures. The Tumblety, by the way, gets arrested just before the 5th murder, Mary Jane Kelly, and then the London detectives ask San Francisco detectives to find examples of his handwriting, Tumblety. They were convinced it was him. But what happens, this is jumping ahead of myself, but he's in jail on that, he gets arrested 6th of November, 7th of November. 9th of November, Mary Jane Kelly gets killed. So everyone like, oh, possibly it weren't Tumblety, because he was in cells. He was in cells. But the MO is different. Mary Jane Kelly's like brutalised in a room. It's a different members of the murder gang who are killing Mary Jane Kelly while Tumblety's in a cell. It's crazy. Now that exonerates him too. He gets exonerated by that. But everybody thinks he's Jack the Ripper because they've been told so by the press. It's got to be Jack the Ripper. Once you've made your mind up, it's like, oh, it's like Osama bin Laden. Well, it's got to be Osama bin Laden because the Americans told us it was him half an hour after the first plane gets hit in 9/11. But I'm digressing. Psyops. Right. We're now coming to Rasputin. How long have we been doing this? 13 minutes. We're now coming to Rasputin, the great advisor to the Tsaress, who ends up being murdered because he was getting too close, and it was actually just some like fucking mesmerist. Knew far too much about them, but he also had in his files an account of what the Russian Secret Service knew about the Jack the Ripper murders, and they identified 3 people. Rasputin wrote, the true author of these atrocities was disclosed by a Russian well known in London named Nerac. He was a spy of our secret police who was a member of the Jubilee Street Club, the anarchist centre in the East End of London. One night in the club, the identity of Jack the Ripper was revealed to him by an old Russian anarchist, Nicholas Zveriev. The mysterious assassin was Dr. Alexander Pedichenko, who had been on the staff of the maternity hospital at Tiva, which is like Crimea, very close to Crimea, and lived on the 2nd floor in Millionaire. He had gone to London where he lived with his sister in Westmoreland Road, Walworth. From there, he sallied forth at night, took an omnibus across London Bridge and walked to Whitechapel, where he committed his secret crimes. Pennichenko, according to Zverev, whose record appears in the reports of the secret police, was aided by a friend of his named Levitsky and a young tailoress called Winberg. So, Pennichenko, what's it called, Levitsky, and Winberg. So, all three were living in Russia, in London at the time. I don't think Winberg's Russian, but she was. Anyway, so, and they were actively helped to escape at the end of it. So this is what, so, we've got five principal figures of the murder gang. Tumblety doesn't actually do the killings. He's the link man between, but Belsevich, Pennichenko, Levitsky and Winberg, 3 men, 1 woman. Very important. Right. So, there might have been more, but these are definitely the 4 core members of the murder. Belsevich, Pennichenko, Levitsky and Winberg. Now, during the murders, it's going to take 1 person to do the killings, but better 2, and it's going to take another man and a woman were what I call the lookout couple. Now at every single murder there's a lookout couple, more or less. They're there, witnesses are going, yeah, I saw a man and a woman. Was it the same woman who got killed? I'm not sure. Basically what's happening. They're watching, because it's the only way that stuff like the Mitre Court murder, a policeman walks past it every 15 minutes. And so they had to commit a murder, and all the other ones as well, they had to commit a murder and disembowel them and disappear without being seen by anyone. The only way they could have done that is through a lookout couple. And then Winberg, Sarah Winberg, she's also going to play some kind of like Myra Hindley, Rosemary West figure, because women are more, and children in those cases, but you know, women are more susceptible to, you know, believe what's going on when they're with a woman. So I won't go into the details because it's just basically saying again what I just said. So there's these lookout couples are always there. Now what's a fascinating one, right? Isaac Schwartz, we love Isaac Schwartz. He is the only eyewitness to a murder, and it's the 3rd murder, right? So what we're going to do, I'll show you something. I'll show you something cool. Going into Chispology on that side there, and we got see me on the other side. I hope my black marker's working. So, the 3rd murder, Lestrade is the 3rd murder, Elizabeth Stride, Berners Street. Now, Isaac Schwartz is walking past, and I'm going to read out the account. Isaac Schwartz was Hungarian, right? So this is the version of it, with his account translated, written down by the police. 12:45 AM. Israel Schwartz stated that at this hour, on turning into Berners Street from Commercial Street and having got as far as the gateway where the murder was committed, he saw a man stop and speak to a woman who was standing in the gateway. See the gateway where her body was found. The man tried to pull the woman into the street, but he turned her around and threw her down on the footway, and the woman screamed 3 times, but not loudly. Could possibly even be Winberg. Anyway, on crossing to the opposite side of the street, Schwartz saw a 2nd man standing lighting his pipe. The man who threw the woman down called out, apparently to the man on the opposite side of the road, Lipsky. And then Schwartz walked away, but finding that he was followed by the 2nd man, he ran so far as the railway arch, but the man did not follow so far. Lipsky. Now there was a murderer called Lipsky a year or 2 ago, so that name was on people's lips. But let's look at the name of one of Padachenko's workmates, Levitsky. Levitsky. Say it fast, in the dark, you don't even speak English, don't speak Russian. Isaac Schwartz is saying pretty much the name of one of what Rasputin said was one of the Jack the Ripper people. Right? So this is the descriptions of the men what Schwartz gives. The first man who threw the woman down, about 30. The second man aged 35, like that. Dressed in with a clay pipe in his hand. Levitsky and Lipsky. Padachenko is probably the other guy. And Bellsmith, it might even have been Bellsmith. They're all there. Because there's a lookout couple, I will go back to one lookout couple. So at 36 Burnley Street, so 40 Burnley Street is where the murder took place. 36 Burnley Street, Fanny Mortimer describes a young man and his sweetheart were standing at the corner of the street about 20 yards away before and after the time the woman must have been murdered, but they told me they did not hear a sound. They didn't see any of the altitude, anything what Isaac Schwartz heard. They saw nothing. That's the lookout couple. So Levitsky is there. They think he's Lipsky. With him, let's say Bellsmith is with him. And Bellsmith is the one doing the murders, and he's the one who goes, Levitsky, to alert him of the fact that Isaac Schwartz is walking right past. And then Dr. Padachenko and Sarah Winberg are the lookout couple who didn't hear a thing. The murder gang is there in that very thing. And they actually named one of them who got named by Rasputin. This is, you know, I am right, I'm always right. But that's major evidence for it. Now I'll tell you something crazy, right? This is some crazy shit, man. This is crazy shit. Right. 3 men, 1 woman. That is the murder gang. Catherine Eddowes. So an hour after that murder, we get to Catherine Eddowes. She's killed in mitre square, Masonic symbolism. She's got compasses, sort of hacked into her cheeks, Masonic symbols, right? 100 metres away, a bit of a bloody dress is found next to an inscription chalk which said, "The Jews are to be blamed for nothing." It's funny right at this angle. Anyway, the Jews are to be blamed for nothing. I do apologise for my handwriting. Now this spelling is important, Jews, because it's not a conventional name for the Jews, right? But in Freemasonry, there is a ceremony where the master architect of Solomon's Temple, Hiram Abif, right, was killed by 3 men, the Jubaler, right? And this is what happens to the Jubaler. This is what happens during this Masonic Freemasonry. By the way, 3 brothers and a sister. There's 3 brothers and a sister. 3 men and a woman. This is what happens to him. First, this is how they get killed. "Oh, that," the Jubalers, "oh, that my throat had been cut across, my tongue torn out, my body buried in the rough sands of the sea." There's a throat slit. Number 2, "that my left breast had been torn open, and my heart and vitals taken from thence and thrown over my left shoulder, carried into the valley of..." That's what happened to the first and the third victims. They had their entrails, and some of the organs are missing. Weird, right? The third jubilant, "oh, that my body had been severed in 2 in the midst and divided to the north and south, my bowels burnt to ashes in the centre." Boom, right? Two days after this event, a third female, or the remnants of one, was found under New Scotland Yard in the cellar, severed at the pelvis, no arms and legs. It's exactly the same as the third Jubileum, which is exactly the same in the same context as the one where the entrails, which is Catherine Eddowes, and Liz Strad. Her body wasn't so much disemboweled, but her throat was definitely cut. All three victims described in this Freemasonic ritual connected with the name Jews, the Jubela, the Jews, where on that very night, that particular word appears attached to, it's not a coincidence. There was some Freemasonic thinking behind that particular double event, right? Where we can place the Ripper Gang. So the Ripper Gang is somehow connected to the Freemasons, alright? We can't change that. Now, Tumblety is the one telling this murder gang what to do. Right? Tumblety is telling them what to do. And he said, when he got back to America, he's being tracked down, he said he was a frequenter of some of London's clubs, like gentlemen clubs, like the Beefsteak Club for one. And the Liberal Club, right, was also attended by George Bernard Shaw, William Morris. Big social reformers. George Bernard Shaw works for the Star newspaper, which is the same newspaper where the Jack the Ripper letters are first printed. You know, he's in on it. George Bernard Shaw knows exactly what's going on. He's the one he sends this letter saying how one man monster and 5 sacrificial martyrs have done more for the cause than anything else. Within, like, I don't know, of the double event, within about 3 months they started like massive social reform in East London, right? So you've got the Freemasons who are involved somewhere, you've got George Bernard Shaw and the Star newspaper are creating Jack the Ripper. They're working in cahoots with each other. And that's where I am at the moment. Here's a few ideas. You've got Inspector Warren. Inspector Warren. He is the bumbling idiot who's fucking up the case. But is he doing it on purpose? All these files are going missing. The police can't catch him. They're making mistake after mistake after mistake. He's a massive Freemason. Massive. Right? Randolph Churchill, Winston Churchill's father, he's a massive Freemason. And there's a guy, after the 5th murder, we'll finish on the 5th murder, Mary Jane Kelly, there's a guy who comes up with a false statement. Everyone said that stinks, saying, it fit in with all the stereotypes that I've been bringing up about this avatar, this mythomeme, this Jack the Ripper mythomeme, and he panders to all of them and he's supporting it. But then his son, a few decades later, says he got paid 100 guineas from Randolph Churchill to make this up. Randolph Churchill's a massive Freemason. So I haven't connected the final dots yet. I haven't connected. I've got the names of the Ripper Gang on the floor. I've got Tumblety in the middle connecting them. And up top we've got names like George Bernard Shaw, William Morris, Randolph Churchill. Now I think all roads are leading to the greatest Victorian social reformer, who's also the greatest, well, a major Victorian Freemason, right? Whoever that figure is, I am convinced now is the mastermind behind Jack the Ripper.